we've made clear that all options are on the table, and you watch the political and diplomatic noose tighten around Maduro's neck. We will begin to do the same thing. The Cubans must understand, too, that there will be a cost associated with their continued support of Nicolas Maduro. We're going to have that same conversation with the Russians as well.
Are you considering those kinds of non-direct intervention measures?
I never talk about things that we're working on.
What would you say to the people who were asking the U.S. for intervention on the bridge?
Oh, I'd say several things. First, you can see, we're in this warehouse filled with U.S. taxpayer-supported food and medicine. We're here to help them. We're here to provide the humanitarian assistance that they need. We were in the shelters today. We saw children that were sick. We saw families that were eating only every other day. This is a tragedy foisted upon them by their leader in Venezuela, by Nicolas Maduro. The United States is committed to continuing to restore democracy and to try as best we can to get food to the starving and medicine to those kids that are sick. It was truly something to see these families that have been displaced. They want to go back to Venezuela. They want to go back home. But today, the Cubans and Nicolas Maduro are preventing them from doing that.
You've spoken very passionately throughout our trip about the generosity of countries taking in Venezuelan migrants and the treatment and how much they welcome them. But as you know, and as we've talked about, the U.S. is facing its own immigration crisis at the border. And I'm wondering if you really don't see any kind of disconnect or inconsistency with the way the administration treats different groups of displaced, desperate people. Because I would imagine if you went to the southern border, a lot of people would have similar stories as to the ones you heard today.
There's nothing like what's taking place at the hands of Nicolas Maduro anywhere in Central or South America. To compare the two is ludicrous. Nicolas Maduro is denying food that's sitting here. These aren't people that are starving because the country doesn't have wealth. These are people that are starving because the political leadership, the military thugs inside of Venezuela have destroyed their capacity to produce crude oil. They have destroyed the capacity to grow crops. They've denied their people aid that is sitting right at the border. You saw the bridge today. Welded trucks, preventing food from getting... This is horrific. There's nothing else in South America that compares to this. This is the largest movement of migrants in the history of the world, absent war. This is at the hands of Nicolas Maduro and no one else. And to compare it to situations anywhere else, I think just belies any true knowledge of the facts on the ground.
But if President Duque said to these people, because it's such a strain on their resources, and as you know, as we've talked about throughout this trip, if he said, I'm sorry, we just can't take you anymore, and stop them at the border, as we've been doing in Mexico, I don't think you'd be okay with that policy.
We are trying in every instance to keep people capable of staying in their own country. That's the common theme. We want these Venezuelans to return home. We want the people in the Northern Triangle to be able to live in their own countries as well. Every nation has the right to make decisions about who comes in and out of their country. President Duque today wants these people to have food and shelter, but when Maduro falls, he wants them to go home. That's the same thing that we're trying to do along our southern border. We want those people to have good lives in Guatemala, in El Salvador, and Honduras. We want that for the Venezuelan people that I saw today here too.
Have you spoken to President Guaido recently? Where is President Guaido?
I haven't spoken to him lately.